France suspends its financial support of 482 million euros to Burkina Faso in response to its support of the coup in Niger. Let's get into it. My name is Joe Hotagua, and today we have news from Burkina Faso and France. So from what many might consider a petty move, France has actually decided to suspend its financial aid and development assistance to Burkina Faso. So this, of course, is in response to the African nation's backing of revolutionaries in Niger. So Niger, as you might remember, on July 26th, Niger did have a military coup that ousted former President Bazoum, and they actually announced this on national TV. This had widespread coverage. Everyone was talking about it, and there was a lot of discussion about how other people were planning to intervene. There are belief systems on different sides, so we're going to talk a little bit about the story and give you guys more context and insight into what's going on. So shortly after the coup, ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, met, and they decided they were going to keep military force on the table in response to what happened in Niger if Niger did not reinstate the ousted president. Now, since then, they had given them 7 days, and nothing has happened in those 7 days. So since then, ECOWAS and other international bodies have threatened further military action. So Burkina Faso, who also had a coup in September of 2022, has joined Mali in a statement warning against ECOWAS military intervention in Niger. Mali and Burkina Faso have both stated that if there was an intervention to restore the ousted president, it would be considered a declaration of war against them. So the relevant announcement about the funding being pooled by the folks from France to Burkina Faso was posted on the official website of the French Foreign Ministry, and the statement reads, France will be suspending all development assistance and budgetary support operations in Burkina Faso until further notice. Now, this declaration has been received with mixed reactions among Africans, many of whom perceive it as ironic given France's history of economic exploitation of Burkina Faso over the decades. So here's some of the examples of the way that they've been actually exploiting Burkina Faso. So number one, they have an annual provision that they give to Burkina Faso of $100 million in developmental aid, but they're concurrently withdrawing approximately $200 million from Burkina Faso's foreign reserves annually through the utilization of what they call the CF agreement. This agreement is very contentious. A lot of people disagree with the agreement, but in this agreement, they're actually taking out $200 million of foreign reserves out of Burkina Faso while only giving $100 million anyway. So even though they're pulling their funding, they've already been taking more than they've been giving. Now, the suspension of the funding from France and Burkina Faso does have some potential detrimental effects on the country. So here are some of the possible implications. Number one is the reduction of development projects. Burkina Faso may have to cut back on development projects that were being funded by France. So this could impact the country's infrastructure, education, health, and other sectors that rely on foreign aid. Number two is the economic impact. Burkina Faso may face economic challenges due to the suspension of funding. This country may have to find alternative sources of funding or raise funds internally, which could be difficult given the country's economic situation. Three is political implications. The suspension of funding could have political implications for Burkina Faso. It could strain the relationship between the two countries, obviously Burkina Faso and France, in terms of their foreign policy and relations. And the country may have to look for other allies to fill a gap left by France, whether that's in the West or obviously preferably on the continent of Africa. And then the fourth implication and the fourth potential negative implication of this is security concerns. Burkina Faso is facing security crisis due to the presence of armed groups in the country. The suspension of funding from France could impact the country's ability to fight these groups and maintain security. And obviously they've already pushed out French troops previously, so they don't have the support of the French troops physically and then also the financial support of France. Now, Africans all around the world have agreed that African countries do need to gain independence from the European countries and their aid. And this might be a way to accelerate that process for Burkina Faso. What it looks like now, it could be a short-term pain for potential long-term gain if they find ways to supplement this kind of income from other internal sources or other activities they do with other countries in the region. So here are some of the things that Burkina Faso can do in order to help them compensate for the lost French aid. So here are some of the possible measures. Number one, they can increase tax revenue. Burkina Faso can increase tax revenue by improving tax collection and enforcement. This could help the country raise funds internally internally and reduce the reliance on foreign aid, of course. Number two, they can promote private investment. Burkina Faso can attract private investments by creating a favorable business environment. This could include reducing bureaucracy, improving infrastructure, and providing incentives for foreign investors, foreign national investment. Next, they can diversify the economy. Burkina Faso can diversify its economy by developing new sectors, such as tourism, agriculture, and mining. This could help the country reduce its dependence on aid and create new sources of revenue. Now, this option is not an option that is a very popular one, but it is something that could be done in the short term, and that's seeking aid from other countries, whether that's in the West or in other parts of the continent of Africa. This could include seeking aid potentially from China, the United States, or even potentially the World Bank. There are ways that they could potentially offset this, but of course, the United States will be unlikely. The World Bank may be unlikely, so they may have to look for other sources of income. So that could be Russia, that could be China, or it could be other areas on the continent of Africa. And one of the things that I think would be a little bit more popular, but also probably less popular amongst the government officials, is cutting back on non-essential spending. Burkina Faso can cut back on non-essential spending to reduce the budget deficit. This could include reducing spending on luxury goods, travel, and other non-essential. So it's important to note that these measures may not be easy to implement and may take time to yield results. Burkina Faso may also need to address its security challenges to attract investment and aid from other countries. So in conclusion, this may end up being a good thing for Burkina Faso in terms of gaining independence from France, and it may begin the process of finding other ways to improve conditions in the country that do not include foreign aid or dependence on the West. So guys, what do you guys think of this story? Let us know in the comments below. If you found it interesting, hit that thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the African Diaspora News channel. And if you want to see more from me, you can check me out at Authentic African on YouTube, and then you can follow me at Authentic_African on Instagram. All right, see you guys on the next video.